What are some of the most idiotic scams that people try to actually pull? Let's get right to it and start with number 6, the Wet Bugatti. This classic YouTube clip is something most people recognize, but do you remember the backstory? In 2009, motorist Andy House purposefully drove his Bugatti supercar into the Gulf Bay Lagoon to collect insurance money. House owned an exotic car salvage yard in Texas. He claimed the accident happened when he swerved uncontrollably after being distracted by a low-flying pelican. They're truly a menace. While he reached for his cell phone. Immediately after the incident, he placed an insurance claim. House was unaware that a bystander was filming him and caught the whole incident on camera. The car sucked in a bunch of salt water and ruined the engine. House also left the Bugatti's engine running, causing further and irreparable damage to the vehicle. The bystander uploaded the video to YouTube, which went viral and received over 4 million views. The video caught the car plunging into the water and House climbing out of the vehicle. Oopsies. Unfortunately for House, the video had over 5 million views. His demeanor in the video was suspicious, as he seemed unfazed by what should have been a traumatic incident. He was weirdly calm as he climbed out of the car, although House might not have seemed so relaxed if he knew he was on camera. Driving such an expensive luxury vehicle was bound to catch people's attention. The flashy car was worth $1 million in October 2009, making House's actions and demeanor even more confusing. Before the incident, House took out a $2.2 million insurance policy on the vehicle. Right after ditching it in the lagoon, he filed a claim for the whole amount, making it one of the most expensive single-car accidents in U.S. history. His insurance company, Philadelphia Insurance Companies, was skeptical about House's story. They thoroughly investigated his claim, committing extensive resources over 4 years to fight it. They secured witness statements and received an anonymous call regarding House's scheme to destroy the car for the insurance proceeds. Philadelphia Insurance Companies filed a lawsuit in 2010 to rescind their insurance policy with House and to seek damages for breach of the insurance contract and fraud. The scheme caught the attention of the FBI, who filed a federal lawsuit against House. He pleaded guilty to wire fraud in August 2014 and was sentenced to a year and a day in federal prison. House also had to pay $600,000 in restitution and had to serve 3 years of supervised release after leaving prison. But somehow he got away with defaming pelicans. PETA, where are you? Get him! Number 5, Dr. Gamble. Dr. Meirion Jones is a kidney specialist who worked at a hospital in Wales with a gambling problem that eventually spiraled out of control. He had racked up so much debt that he turned to his workplace to bail him out. Jones doubled down on his hours worked, came in on days off, and even drove for DoorDash to responsibly cover his debts. Just kidding. Jones stole nearly $83,000 instead. Jones went to the bereavement services department at his hospital, the University Hospital of Wales in Cardiff. Over 2 years, he took 420 checks from the department on top of writing forged checks and claiming that he worked shifts that he hadn't. Jones's gambling problem developed when he was studying at Oxford University. He began by placing bets on World Cup soccer matches. From there, his habit escalated into a full-blown addiction. Of course, Jones couldn't run from his problems forever, and accounting was eventually going to find out. His employers soon realized something suspicious was happening and opened an investigation into Jones's activities. The medical tribunal suspended his medical license for at least 12 months. He tried to reapply and return to work. The tribunal held a review hearing where they examined evidence about his recovery from gambling and concluded that he wasn't far enough along in his recovery journey to practice medicine again. They extended the suspension for a further 4 months. The severity of Dr. Jones's gambling problem was undeniable. In 2009, he lost $12,000 in just one night in a U.S. Open tennis match between Juan Martín del Potro and Roger Federer. Although he stole a significant amount of money from the hospital, it was still only a fraction of the money he owed. Jones was unable to make his mortgage payments, and the bank repossessed his apartment. Jones was arrested and charged with fraud for misusing his position and fraud on false representation. He pleaded guilty to both charges and was sentenced to 2 years in prison and a 2-year suspension. The court also ordered him to perform 200 hours of unpaid work as punishment for the money he took. But do we still have to call him Doctor? Number 4. Rental posing. Husband and wife, Jonathan Lucas and Melissa Ellis, posed as landlord and tenant for 9 years, during which time they claimed hundreds of thousands of dollars of British taxpayers' money. They ran their scam from 2008 to 2017, during which time the couple stole $132,000, lived in a luxurious home, and took their 3 children on expensive holidays to the US, Dubai, and Portugal. They also spent money on flashy cars such as Mercedes, Jaguar, and Range Rover. Melissa posed as the tenant and claimed rental assistance from the government, which she paid to Jonathan, who posed as the landlord. Jonathan, a self-employed businessman, posed as her landlord and the property owner. Although they told the British government they weren't living as a couple, they lived at the same address the entire time. The couple claimed benefits from the Department of Work and Pensions. Jonathan gave an address for a separate property nearby to avoid raising suspicions. He's sneaky like that. However, paying guests often rented his supposed main address as a vacation home. They could have maintained a low profile if they hadn't stolen so much money or run their scam for so long. Rather than quitting while they were ahead, they kept going, even though it was obvious the government would eventually catch them. Fraud investigators discovered the couple's scam in the summer of 2017 and conducted surveillance on the couple's property. Investigators found the supposed tenant and landlord were living in a luxurious 4-bedroom home protected by security gates with a convoy of vehicles in the driveway. The pair was arrested on the spot. In court, Melissa pleaded guilty to 2 counts of making a dishonest representation to obtain benefit and 3 counts of dishonestly failing to notify a change of circumstances. She was sentenced to 2 years and 3 months in jail. Jonathan pleaded guilty to 2 counts of encouraging or assisting the commission of an offense. His prison sentence was 1 year and 9 months, slightly less than his wife's. The change in scenery shouldn't be too dramatic, at least. They'll still be in a home protected by security gates, and there'll be a convoy of vehicles in the driveway. Former state employee Robin Folsom faked multiple pregnancies to obtain 265 hours of paid leave. Folsom was working as the Director of External Affairs for the Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, known as the GVRA, making an annual salary of roughly $100,000. She announced the birth of her first child in July 2020, and by October 2020, claimed to be pregnant again. During that time, Folsom took 265 hours of paid leave granted to her by the Family Medical Leave Act, for which she otherwise wouldn't have been eligible. Her scheme unraveled when a coworker noticed she was wearing a fake pregnancy costume under her clothes and got so mad about it. The coworker then told on Folsom to the head of the state agency, who opened an investigation into Folsom's actions. Folsom had created a fictitious identity for the fake father of her alleged children and shared that false information with the GVRA before beginning her requested time off. The Inspector General's office learned there were no birth certificates proving Folsom was a mother, and medical and insurance records showed no indication of her ever even giving birth. Coworkers were suspicious of Folsom, who was showing and even sending them pictures of her alleged children. The children in the images had varying skin colors and didn't look anything like Folsom, which is really weird on its own the more you think about it. She actually had to find and choose these pictures of other people's children, but just picked random kids that didn't even resemble her. Uncomfortable coworkers were like, yeah, he looks just like you. So cute. But recognizing the stock photo from a frame they saw at Walmart. Although Folsom made thousands of dollars in paid time off, it was only a matter of time before the truth was revealed, especially when it was so easy to prove that she had been lying. Folsom resigned from her position in October 2021 after an interview with state investigators and faced criminal charges for her actions. She pleaded guilty to identity fraud and making false statements, and the court ordered her to pay over $12,000 in restitution to the state and 5 years of probation. Her punishment is still cheaper than actually having kids. Number 2. Weekend at Ralph's. 55-year-old Pennsylvanian Timothy Gritman impersonated his deceased father to get access to hundreds of thousands of dollars from his pension. Gritman's father, Ralph Gritman, retired from the Nassau County Clerk's office in 1992 and moved to a retirement community with his wife in Pennsylvania around 3 years later. When Ralph's wife passed away in 2010, Ralph moved in with Tim in 2014. The father and son moved to Wyoming together in August 2017. Relatives noticed Ralph was looking unwell and worried about his health. He entered a hospital emergency room in September 2017, which was the last time he used his Medicare benefits. In 2019, Tim told a family member his father had passed away several years earlier, but refused to disclose the location of the burial. With Ralph out of the way, his son had full access to his father's benefits. Tim stole a total of $240,985 from Ralph's NY state pension and Social Security funds. The New York State's Comptroller's Office opened an investigation into Tim's activities after receiving a call to their fraud hotline. The Comptroller's Office coordinated with the FBI and Pennsylvania authorities, where they discovered Gritman had been stealing funds since October 2017. But Tim claimed his father was still alive and kept requesting the pension payments, even after they were suspended. In response, the Comptroller's Office asked for photographic evidence of Ralph Gritman holding a current ID card to prove he was still alive. Tim attempted to disguise himself as his father by using makeup to whiten his hair and eyebrows, and took a picture of himself holding a fake Pennsylvania state identification card. But other evidence mounted against him. It was becoming clear that Ralph was no longer alive, having used his Medicare benefits in 2017 and never using them again. The photograph Tim thought he was so clever with ended up serving as further proof that he was committing fraud. Tim was charged with wire fraud and Social Security fraud and pleaded guilty to both charges in U.S. District Court in Philadelphia. The maximum sentence for wire fraud is 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. And the maximum sentence for Social Security fraud is 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Tim's sentence could be even higher, though. Due to the amount of money he stole, he faces up to 285 years in prison and a $3.7 million fine. His sentencing hearing is in May of 2023. Despite the investigation and trial, Ralph Gritman's body has never been found. Sadly, this story could have been filled with tons of Weekend at Bernie-style comical hijinks situations. You let us down, Tim. Before we get to the last story, definitely stay on this video to watch our previous release for criminals who were too dumb to stay off of social media. Number 1. Expired employees. Don Victor Cisternino fraudulently obtained millions of dollars of Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP loans, when he lied about how many people he employed in his total monthly payroll. Cisternino claimed his consultancy firm Magnifico employed 441 people and had an average monthly payroll of $2.9 million. However, at least 3 of the people he claimed worked for him were deceased, and the W-2 tax forms he submitted for his employees had incorrect, duplicate, or incomplete Social Security numbers. In fact, the only person working at Magnifico was Cisternino. He received $7.2 million in loans, which he used to pay off a debt of $1.4 million to a relative. Once he got rid of his debt, Cisternino bought a $3.5 million mansion, made a $48,000 payment on a Maserati, spent $251,000 on a Mercedes, and $89,000 on a Lincoln Navigator. He also paid $175,000 to GoDaddy.com to buy website domains and paid $403,000 to small film production companies. Of course, his mansion was his most significant purchase. It was a 12-acre, 12,579-foot property with its own movie theater, British-style pub, 4-car garage, pool, tennis court, office, and a 5-stall horse barn. Cisternino made no effort to even hide his newfound wealth and should have probably spent more time covering up his scam rather than focusing on elaborate purchases. Cisternino stated his employees were earning $85,000 a year, but they all had the same amount of taxes deducted from their wages, which isn't how withholdings typically work for people employed at the same company. Cisternino's profit and loss statements were also confusing. He sent them to the bank with incorrect math and some form showing miscalculations for tax withholdings. With so much clear evidence against him, it was only a matter of time before authorities grew suspicious of Cisternino. Cisternino was indicted on 2 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of aggravated identity theft, and 3 counts of illegal monetary transactions. He faced the possibility of a hefty sentence that included 20 years for wire fraud, 10 years for illegal monetary transactions, and a mandatory consecutive sentence of 2 years for aggravated identity theft.
Who were some of the dumbest criminals out there who were just begging to get caught? Olsi Behalouli posted the money he made from dealing on Twitter, and Lorraine Graves actually commented on her own most wanted Facebook post made by police. Let's get right into it. Number 4. Model Citizen. Olsi Behalouli used his above-average looks to garner meager fame on TV. then dashed it all with a photo showing him surrounded by some 240,000 pounds in drug money. The man claimed he had previously appeared on dating show My Little Princess, featured on Channel 4. With the show's IMDb page barren and clips all but scrubbed from the web, that claim is difficult to verify. In any case, details about his life aside from that are fairly sparse. For those who aren't privy to the 2013 flash-in-the-pan phenomenon that was My Little Princess, it was a dating show conducted in about the most over-the-top manner possible. The ridiculousness included challenges like guessing the princess's favorite conspiracy theory and singing karaoke to her during her first meeting. Knights or contestants who didn't get into the princess's good graces were tossed into a moat by a giant in armor. No, seriously. He even took associates Basim Topali and Azim Prashka with him. Members of one of the many notorious gangs that have a stranglehold on England's illegal drug market to this day, the three were all part of the same operation, which made it possible for a Behelouli's mistake to blow the whole thing apart. If you're raking in lots of cash, you may be tempted to flaunt it. For people like internet influencers and celebrities whose continued raking in depends on showing off the cash they've already got, that makes sense. For a model and drug dealer, yeah, not so much. Behelouli apparently didn't get the memo. The dude posted a photo to Instagram surrounded by mountains of cash. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to guess what happened next. The cops arrested Behelouli himself first. He tried to cover for his gang, saying that the photo in question was taken in Albania with a relative's money. London's finest didn't buy it. They raided the gang's stash house and arrested 2 other members. Behelouli is just one of many criminals flexing their wealth online where their actions have backfired. Even so, the judge didn't go easy on the group of thugs. The former dating show star caught an 11-year sentence out of a total of 31 years between him and his 2 goons. Topali and Prashka, once they've served their 10-year sentences, will be headed back to Albania. Wealth signaling has been a prominent gang activity around the world, but in the UK, it's picked up a special significance in the past few years. Notable Albanian gangs, such as the Hellbanians, have been going as far as producing music videos. The goal seems to be attracting more young men from their homeland to join in and tighten the gang's stranglehold on UK criminal enterprises. That practice may be a bit more restrained in the future, since these arrests have made it clear that authorities are watching out. Behelouli's personal Twitter account has been active recently and seems to indicate that all is well with his life as a model. Given the implied but unproven gang ties, there's no way to know at this point if he's going to reoffend. Albanian gang culture seems to run on loyalty and vengeance, but on the surface at least, it appears that the star of this story has reformed. Number 3. Brotherly Dumb. David Guerrera, 17, and Ezra Guerrera, 21, recently caught charges in Texas thanks to Instagram posts by David showing off the pair's guns and cash. Life can be tough for young brothers living together without a parent, but these two didn't make things any easier for themselves by falling into the wrong career track. The pair had been living together in the south side of San Antonio in the lead-up to the arrests. Alerted to the social media postings, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office moved on David first. They found him in traffic, and during the stop, they discovered a loaded gun, hash oil, and cash in the car. David was detained on the spot, along with his older brother, who was riding shotgun. The pair were booked immediately. Number 2. Comment section. Lorraine Graves must have felt like a real celebrity when she commented on a public entity's Facebook post that was talking about her back in July of 2021. The hang-up? The post named her as an accessory to murder, and the comment got her arrested. The shooting happened in March, and the original post from the Tulsa, Oklahoma police went up on a Wednesday. The very next day, Graves was arrested. The details of the crime aren't easily available as of this writing, but sources say that the unfortunate person, Eric Graves, was shot and his body found inside an apartment. Whether it was his own wasn't laid out. Another victim was also injured. The 2 perpetrators, Jaden and Gabrielle Hobson, were actually brought in first, leaving police on the hunt for Graves. She wound up on the very top of the city's most wanted list. That's not the kind of fame you want to embrace. But Graves' comment asking about reward money lightened the mood considerably in light of how serious the crime was. Police couldn't help but rag on Graves after she outed herself. In a more open and shut case, there would definitely be room for such gloating. This one, well, things got a bit more complicated. Not long after Lorraine Graves shot off her mouth, then mugged for the camera in handcuffs, there was a major break in the case that completely revamped authorities' suspect list. A man previously thought of as only a witness, Wendell Alexander, now faces first-degree murder charges alongside Jaden Hobson. Evidence indicates two shooters, and new details have brought to light that Jaden and Wendell were the likely trigger pullers. Lorraine's original charges of accessory to murder weren't modified all that much. After her cousin was gone, she was thought to have helped hide the guns used in the crime and protect the criminals. Gabrielle Hobson, meanwhile, is alleged to have helped hide evidence, including the corpse, and taken items of value from the victim after death. This complicated case is still in the air as of the latest update from our local sources, which dropped in September of 2021. Number 1. 24-hour help. Frances Noble of Hertfordshire, England, was in need of 24-hour care. Due to a neurological condition, she was no longer able to feed herself, take care of household obligations, head out in public, or do any of the numerous other things that most of us take for granted. The poor woman was bedridden and needed carers on staff around the clock to ensure that her needs were met. Her condition put her into a bedridden state as far back as 2005, and she petitioned her local government for help in getting the care she needed. A common practice seen in the UK and abroad is to give the sick person a fixed stipend to pay out to carers of their choice. Hertfordshire County Council was glad to take care of one of their own, and over the course of more than 11 years, they paid out over £702,000. Here's the thing though, it was all one big lie. The whole thing fell apart when authorities opened up an investigation in 2018. Noble admitted as much and said that starting in 2007, she was receiving money that she didn't actually need. She also admitted that herself, her daughter, and her son-in-law were living high on the hog with that money. The £702,000 and some change, paid out since 2005, wasn't the amount that charges for the trio ended up being based on. Instead, the amount paid since 2007 was the basis for the charges, coming up close to £625,000. The scam was a fairly elaborate one. The scam in its original form was fairly simple. Noble got money from the council to hire carers, and she didn't spend all of it on the intended care. She kept some of the cash for herself and hired her own daughter, Laura Borrell, who was paid a decent amount. Borrell's husband, Philip, was also in on the whole thing. Using their part of the ill-gotten gains, the younger couple took off on a number of vacations. They went to places like San Francisco, Canada, and Boston. The pair even benefited from a GoFundMe set up in 2017 by Noble to help them with a big vacation. The story behind that one only makes things juicier. In 2017, the Borrells went on ITV's This Morning. Laura, then 39, claimed that she was one of the youngest frontal temporal dementia patients on record. The pair regaled audiences with the struggles caused by the disorder, including Laura having to stop pursuing a career in law. Noble's GoFundMe page reportedly raised around £1,500 towards a grand trip to help Laura make memories before her memory was affected by the disease. With the details of the case being as they are, the Borrells' claim to a neurological condition may seem dubious. According to Laura's attorney, the claim was legitimate. The first real signs of trouble came in 2015, when neighbors began to notice Noble being a lot more active than she logically should have been, given her condition. Notably, she was reported seeing out walking her dog, meaning she had to keep up with the animal. In one encounter, she was said to have spotted a neighbor spying on her walking the grounds around her home, then pulled her hood on and claimed to be a carer, not Noble herself. Another neighbor said that Noble was seen taking a home delivery of groceries. The reports coming in from neighbors included video evidence. Authorities simply couldn't ignore the situation any longer and launched their own investigation. They began observing Noble's residence, and what they found sealed the deal. Not only was Noble up and about when she was claiming to be bedridden, but there were no indications of any visits by care staff. Naturally, authorities pounced. Police nabbed the Borrells in short order, but Noble gave them the slip. When the heat was officially on, Noble decided to lay low in Berlin. Specifically, she settled in Rohrwalele, a somewhat affluent suburb not far from Berlin's limits, in 2019. Even so, St. Albans Crown Court managed to have proper hearings about the matter. One hearing happened with Noble present to admit to fraud by false representation, and another happened without her. In the end, all three fraudsters were sentenced. The three admitted to a limited number of counts that don't quite add up to the grand sum involved in the whole scheme. What they did decide to admit to in court was enough to earn them all some serious jail time. The Borrells came together to admit to a joint charge of receiving criminal property, about £184,000 in all. The two got their own individual charges as well. Laura confessed to receiving criminal property in the amount of £39,700. Philip pulled down a significantly lower amount, admitting to only £6,218. Noble, meanwhile, admitted to one count of fraud and one count of transferring criminal property for £130,649. Noble, being the ringleader in the whole affair, was sentenced to 4 years and 9 months in jail. As of this writing, she's awaiting extradition from Germany to serve her sentence in England. Laura Burrell, the daughter, got 3 years and 9 months. Philip Burrell, the son-in-law, was sentenced to 4 years and 3 months.
Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comment section below what you think is tougher to get rid of, a drinking problem or a gambling problem.